right? So when they give you a number series, they will not tell you what type of series it is. They will not tell you whether it is addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, square, cube. They will not tell you any of that. You have to figure that out, right? So if you can figure that out, right? So there are two parts to this. First part, figure out what type of series it is. Type or category. What category of series this is. If you can figure that out, you can say 50% of your job is done. And then once you figure out, okay, this is addition, or this is multiplication, or this is division, then you have to find what is the link, whether it is multiply by 3 or multiply by 4 or multiply by 5. So then you have to find the link. So if you find the link, then the next 50% of your job is done. So this is the most important section of this video, right? Whenever you have a question, what to do with it in the exam. 2 steps. Step 1, identify the category of the series, and step 2, identify the link between the different elements of the series. So let's take a few examples and understand what do I mean by this. Bhai sahab, chaliye. So the first one, right? So identify the type of series. Let's see the first series, A. 5, 8, 11, 14, 17. So what will we see? Are the numbers close to each other or are the numbers very far from each other? 5 and 8, so it's just a plus 3. 8 and 11, again close. 11 and 14, close. 14 and 17, close. If they are close to each other, always try addition and subtraction first, right? So this is clearly an addition series. 5 plus 3, 8, 8 plus 3, 11, 11 plus 3, 14, 14 plus 3, 17. So close numbers, what will we do? Addition. If the numbers are close to each other, what will we do? It will be an addition series. Second, question number B. 5, 10, 20, 40, 80. Now what is happening to the numbers? The gap. 5 and 10, there is a small gap of 5. Then there is a bigger gap. Then there is a bigger gap. Then there is a bigger gap. The next number 80 and 160, there will be an even bigger gap, right? So as the gaps keep on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, then one of the series that is a very huge possibility is multiplication. So if the numbers are very distant numbers, then what will we go for? We will try multiplication or division. So for example, this one, 5 into 2, 10, 10 into 2, 20, 20 into 2, 40, 40 into 2, 80, 80 into 2, 160, right? So if the numbers are far away, suppose it gets even bigger, you definitely give a shot to multiplication series, right? And it may not be pure multiplication, then it will be a combination of multiplication and addition. So if it is not multiplication, then it will be a combination. Just remember this. This is very important. And third, right? 0, 9, 26, 65, 124, 217. Now again the numbers are very far away. So one of the gut feeling is that it may be a multiplication series. But once just check the bigger numbers, right? So what are the bigger numbers here? 217, 124. Are they close to any square, any cube? So 217 is very close to 6 cube, 216. 124 is very close to 5 cube, 125. So if they are very close to a cube or a square, then it's a cube or square series. So how do we do it? If the numbers are very close to each other, definitely addition. If the numbers are far away from each other, then it is either multiplication or it is multiplication plus addition. So some combination. Third, if the numbers are a little far away from each other and they are very close to some cube or some square, then it's a cube or square series. So this you should absolutely be clear. The moment you see a question, the first thing you should see is, okay, are the numbers close? Is this an addition series? Are the numbers far away? Is this a multiplication series? Are the numbers close to some cube or square? Is this a cube series? If you figure that out, I tell you 50% of your work is over. That's it, right? Then what do? You have to identify the relationships between the different numbers. That is step 2, right? So if you do this, 50% of your job is complete. So now let's go to the next 50%. How to identify the relationships between these numbers? That is the question, right? If I am able to figure out these relationships, I will get the answer. So how to do this? When we see a question, okay, our first sense is we always start with the smaller numbers. Why do we start with the smaller numbers? Because calculation is so easy, no? If I say 3 into 3, you will say 9, 3 into 4, you will say 12. But if I tell you 285 into 7 or 283 into 3, then you are a little resistant. Should I do this? should I not do this? So we always begin with the smaller numbers. I tell you, stop this habit. When you see a series, always see the big gaps and then you start with the big gaps. So if you look at this number, series 3, 9, we just solved this some time back. 3, 9, 31, 94, 283, 850. The gaps are increasing. It's definitely a multiplication series. We have identified the series. Now, it's either multiplication or combination, right? Now, which numbers to start with? 3 and 9 or 283 and 850? I tell you, start with the bigger numbers. The smaller numbers are easier to calculate, but they will create confusion. The big gaps is where all the hint is. Okay. So let's see how to do this. So if I were you and I was giving the exam, what would I first start with? I would start with these big numbers, 283 and 850. Okay. So 283 multiplied by what will give me something around 850, right? So 283 will into either 3 or 4, right? 250 plus, right? So 250, 280 plus 800. So approximately a gap of something like 600, right? So let's try multiplication by 3. What do we get? 283 into 3. 3 3s are 9, 8 3s are 24, 3 2s are 6 and 8. So 849 and we have 850. So we have into 3 plus 1. Then see the next biggest gap, 94 and 283. Let's do the same thing, 94 into 3. 4 3s are 12, 9 3s are 27 plus 1, 28. So 282 plus 1. So again 283. So we will get into 3 plus 1. Then you try it for this, into 3 plus 1. You will get 94. You try here into 3 plus 1. You will not get 31. Then you try here into 3 plus 1. You will not get 9. So the problem is with this number, right? Because here also you are not getting and here also you are not getting. So this middle number is causing all the issue. So that is the problem in the series. This becomes very easy if you approach it from the big gaps and then come to the small gaps. If you start from small and go to the big ones, there is a likelihood that you will not be able to crack the series. So this is your remaining 50% of the problem. So have you understood what are the two steps? First, identify the type of series. Second, once you have identified the type of series, start with the big gaps, and once the big gaps are clear, then you can identify relationships easily, right? This generally works most of the times. So what we will do now is actually implement this, right? Thus far what did we do? We just solved some easy basic questions. Now we will solve actual challenging questions using both these steps, right? So we will identify the type of series, then we will identify the relationships, and we will solve the problem. Let's see. So let's begin with the first challenging question. Try and solve this question on your own. Okay, so as you see, this is not a very easy question. Why? There is a number 8. Then what has happened? It comes down. You get 7. Then it increases 12. Then it increases 33. Then it increases 128. So there is this only one place where it is coming down and then it is going up, right? So it looks a little tricky. What do you mean? Why is it coming down? Then why is it going up? But don't worry. If you see something like this, don't panic. Don't say, oh, I cannot solve this. There is no pattern. There is a pattern. How will we be able to do it? Very easily if we follow the two steps. So let's follow step 1. What is step 1? What type of a series is this? So let's see the gaps, right? 8 and 7, very small gap. 7 and 12. Then 12 becomes 33. Then 33 suddenly becomes 128, which means the gap has increased a lot, right? 30 to 128 is almost 4 times. So the gap is increasing a lot, which basically means that this is which kind of a series? If the gaps are increasing a lot, it's a multiplication or a combination series. So there is definitely a multiplication element in this question. This is very important. If you are able to solve this, 50% of the problem is done. This is a multiplication kind of series. Okay, now what to do? Once you have identified this, let's go to step 2. Now if it's a multiplication kind of a series, what are the relationships between these numbers? So how do we identify this? Using the small numbers or the big numbers? What did we study? We start off always with the big gaps, then we will go to the small gaps. So let's start in reverse, right? So from 33 we jump directly to 128. What is the relationship between 33 and 128? Let's solve it. So 30 and 120, can I say 30 4s are 120? So it's close to 4s are, so let's try and do it. 33 4s are, 3 4s are 12, 4 3s are 12 and 1 13, so 132. But this is 128, so this is 4 less, 4 less gives you 128. So basically 33 into 4 minus 4, 33 4s are 132, minus 4 is 128. This is clear. Now let's move a little behind. 12 and 33. Okay, so now what do we get, right? So this is close to 12, 12 3s are 36, 12 4s are becomes 48, very big. So this 33 is close to 36, so let's solve. 12 3s are 36, but what do we have here? 33, so can I say minus 3, right? So basically what do we get? 12 3s are 36, minus 3 33. See, now you already see there is a pattern. You get into 4 minus 4. Before that what do you get? Into 3 minus 3. So before that what should you get? Into 2 minus 2. Let's try and solve this, right? So 7 into 2, that is how much? 14 minus 2 should give you 12. So into 2 minus 2. Have you understood this? Right? Then you go behind. So you get into 1 minus 1. So 8 into 1 is 8, minus 1 7. So into 1 minus 1, into 2 minus 2, into 3 minus 3, into 4 minus 4. So what will be the next part? Into 5 minus 5. So 128 into 5, 8 5s are 40, 5 2s are 10 and 14, 640 minus 5. So what do you get? 635. So the answer is 635. Have you understood this? How did we do it? Step 1, identify the series. Step 2, start with the big gaps. So the big gap was into 4 minus 4, then there was an into 3 minus 3, there was into 2 minus 2, and you figured out the pattern, and then you will be able to solve the question. If you try to do all of it together, you will not be able to do it. But if you break it into 2 steps and do it slowly and comfortably, you will be able to get the answer right. And then after you practice many questions like this will become intuitive. Then it will become very, very easy. It will become a cakewalk. Alright? So let's move on to the next challenging question. Find the wrong number in this series. Give it a minute and then we will start. Okay, let's begin. Step 1. What is step 1? Figure out whether it is addition series, multiplication series, square series. Look at the numbers. 1000, 934, 980, 945, 978, 956, 967. Everything is in 900s, more or less, right? So the numbers are very close to each other. If the numbers are close to each other, what kind of series will it be? Either addition or subtraction. That's it. So step 1 is done. What is step 1? It's addition or subtraction, right? Now what is the step 2? You find the relationship. Now in a addition or subtraction series, since the numbers are very close to each other, there are no big gaps, so you can start anyhow, right? If the numbers are very far away, then we will do the big gaps, but since the numbers are very close, you can start from 1000 itself. So let's start from 1000 to 934. Is it an increase or decrease? It's a decrease. Decrease of how much? So 1000 minus how much gives you 934? Can you figure that out? 66. Clear? Now do 934 to 980. So 934 to 980, it's an increase. Since this is an increase, I am just writing it on the upside. So 934 plus how much gives you 980? 44, 54, 64, 74. So 40 and then 6. So 46. Don't panic when you see all these random numbers, 66, 46. Let's see. Let's continue. We'll figure out a pattern. Now let's go from 980 to 945. Again, it's a decrease of how much? So let's go from 945 to 980. 945, so 55, 65, 75. So 30 plus 5 plus 35. Then let's move from 945 to 978. So 945, so 55, 65, 75 and plus 3. So it's plus 33. Plus 33. Let's go from 78 to 56. So 56, 66, 76 and 78. So 22. So you get a minus 22. Yeah. This was a minus 35. Yeah. Now let's go from 956 to 967. So 56 plus 10, 66 plus 167. So it's plus 11. Now you see the pattern, right? Now if you see, you cannot initially spot a pattern. 66 becomes 46, 46 becomes 35, then you have 33, 22, 11. So far so good. But there is some pattern, right? There is 11. Can you see that pattern? There is plus 11, there is minus 22, there is plus 33. Then the pattern gets spoiled, right? So if I am going in reverse, I get plus 11, minus 22, plus 33. I should have got minus 44, but what did I get? Minus 35. Then I should have got plus 55. What did I get? Plus 46. But then again I should get minus 66. I am getting minus 66. So what is happening? Like I told you, if one number is wrong, it messes up two numbers in the series. Correct? So all these numbers get messed up only because the central number is wrong. Right? So this should have been plus 11, minus 22. So if you go in this direction, plus 33. So this should have been minus 44. Which means you should have 945 minus 44. So this number is the culprit number, 980. Right? So what should it have been? So let's proceed from left to right. 1000 minus 66 is 934. 934 plus 55 should have been 989. Then you do 989 minus 44, so you get 945, which is correct. Then plus 33 is 978, minus 22 is 956, plus 11 is 967. So what is the number which is causing both the problems in the relationships? That central number, 980. So far so good. So this is how you will do it. Don't give up. So what is the trick here? Don't give up if you get some random relationships. Always remember there will be two relationships which will definitely go wrong if there is a wrong number. Right? So this 46 and 35 are the wrong ones. Everything else is in a pattern. 11, 22, 33, dash, 66. So it should have been 44 and 55. So two numbers went wrong because of this number 980. I hope this is clear. So let's move on to the next question. The next challenging question for you. Take a minute to solve this. Let's start. So how will we solve this question, right? So let us do again in those two steps, right? Step 1, step 2. So step 1 is identifying the type of series. So let's start with step 1. So let's look at the numbers. First number is 62, reduces to 64, reduces to 32. Then it's continuously increasing, 48. And a much bigger number, 130. Gets even bigger, 420. Then you are suddenly almost at 2000, right? 1890. And then 10,000. So you clearly know the gaps are big, right? And they don't look close to many cubes and many squares, right? There are none of these 215 type numbers in this. So then what kind of series does it look like? This definitely looks like something to do with multiplication, right? So there is definitely multiplication in this series. So it's a multiplication series. So step 1 is cleared. Now let's go to step 2, right? So once you know that it's a multiplication series, then what is step 2? Identifying the relationship between the different numbers. So now which number should we start off with? That's the question. I tell you, the natural temptation is to begin with the smaller numbers. 64 and 32. 32 is half of 64. So we are naturally tempted to begin with the small numbers. But what have we discussed? Which numbers are more beneficial? It's always beneficial to begin with the bigger numbers, right? Because the certainty is higher in those numbers. So we will start with the bigger numbers. Which is the biggest two numbers? 1890 and 10395. So even if you are tempted to start with smaller numbers, just leave that temptation for a while. Begin with the bigger numbers. Now let's look at these two numbers. 1890, it's close to 2000, and 10395 10,395 is close to 10,000. So what's the relationship between 2,000 and 10,000? 2,000 5s are 10,000, right? So, and we know we have to do multiplication. So we should try multiplying it by 5. Let's see what happens. So let's do 1890 multiply by 5. Right? 0, 5, 4, 9. Right? So we get 9450. It's a little far away from 10,000, 10,395. So a little far away. So then let's try multiplying it by 6. Maybe that will be the answer. Let's see. So this is exactly how I will approach it in the exam, right? I will see, okay, let's multiply it by 5, what happens? Okay, this is the answer. It looks a little far away. So let me multiply by 6 and see what is the answer. So let me do it. 9 6 are 54, 5 carried, 8 6 are 48, 48 plus 5 53, 6 1 are 6 and 5 11. So 11,340. Again, this is also far away from 10,395, right? 10,395 in fact is somewhere between 9,450 and 11,340. It's somewhere between multiply by 5 and multiply by 6. Somewhere in between, right? So what can that number be? Maybe 5.5, right? So this is somewhere in between multiplied by 5 to multiplied by 6. Something in between. Now if you want, you can try 5.5 also, right? Or else you can wait. You can see if there is a similar pattern in other numbers, right? So what I'll do is I'll wait for a minute, right? Maybe if 5.5 works or not, we will see later on. Let's go to the earlier two numbers. So what are the earlier two numbers that we will start with? 420 and 1890. 420 is around 400. 1890 is around 1900. So far so good. So 420 into 4. 400 into 4 is around 1600. And 400 into 5 is around 2000. Correct? So again, this is somewhere between into 4 and into 5. 400 into 4 will be around 1600 and 400 into 5 will be around 2000. So it is in between. Again, I can try 4.5 and check, but for the time being, let it be, right? So it is between into 4 and into 5. Let's to get the earlier two numbers. Which are the earlier two numbers? 130 and 420. 130. So 13, hopefully you know the table of 13, right? So 130 into 3. 130 into 3 is 390. And 130 into 4 is 520, right? So it is again between into 3 and into 4. See, are you seeing a pattern? The bigger two numbers between into 5 and into 6. You come a little earlier into 4 and into 5. A little less than that into 3 to into 4. Let's do a little earlier. So then we should, with the same logic here, we should get between into 2 and into 3. This is clear? With the same logic, then the earlier two numbers you should get between into 1 and into 2. And with the same logic, the first two numbers you should get into 0 and into 1, somewhere between them. Yes? So if this is clear, if you identified the pattern, now figure out which number, right? Should I take 5.5, so if it is between 5 and 6, should I take 5.5, 5.3, 5.2, what number should I take? That's the next question. So now once you have identified the broad pattern of the series, you have understood the relationships, now you can start from anywhere you want. You can start from the easier numbers also. So which are the easier numbers? 64 and 32. What is the relationship? 32 is half of 64. So can I say basically what I have done? 64 divided by 2 is 32. So can I say that's nothing but 64 multiplied by 0.5. Why did I do multiply? Because we are doing it in the multiplication form, right? So I told you it was between 0 and 1, so it is 0.5, exactly in between. Let's take the other two numbers next to 48 and 32. So what is the ratio between 48 and 32? 4 12s are, 4 8s are, 4 3s are, 4 2s are. So 3 upon 2, which is 1.5. So here we get 1.5. So into 64 into 0.5 gives 64 into 0.5 gives us 32. 32 into 1.5 gives us 48. Same logic, what should be the next one? 48 into, so 0.5 is done, 1.5 is done, so it should be 48 into 2.5, then into 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, that's it. So let's try and do this. See what do you get when you do 48 multiplied by 2.5. Then you see what happens when you multiply, let's say, the next number into by 130 into 3.5 and so on and so forth. Right, and we will be able to figure out what is the answer. If you want to still check, let's see the biggest two numbers. 180 into 5.5, that should give you 10395. So if you want, you just calculate 1890 multiplied by 5.5 and check what do you get, right? Calculate on your own. When you calculate, you will be able to ensure that it is same as 10395, exactly what we want. Okay, so have you figured out the pattern? 64 into 0.5 is 32, 32 into 1.5 is 48, 48 into 2.5 is how much? Let's see. 48 into 2.5. How do I do 48 into 2.5? Do you know the shortcut? Let's see. 48 into 2.5. So let's first do 48 into 2. What is 48 into 2? 96. And then 2.5, no? So let's do 48 into 0.5 now. 2 is done. And now we will do 0.5. 0.5 means nothing but half. So what is 48 into 0.5? So half of 48, this is 24. So this is 48 into 2 plus 48 into 0.5, add them, 120, right? So I should get 120. But what has been given to me here? 130. So this is the wrong number. The right number should have been 120. If you want, you can check further. What is the next number? Should be 120 into 3.5. So let's multiply. How will you do 120 into 3.5? First you multiply by 3, then we will multiply by 0.5. So what is 120 into 3? 360. And 120 into 0.5 means half. That is 60. So 360 plus 60 is 420. See, we want 420. So this is right. So which is the number which gave us the problem? It's 130. Instead of that, the right answer should have been 120. Is this clear? So 64 into 0.5, 32 into 1.5, 48 into 2.5, 130 into 3.5. This looks like a complicated question, right? When you practice multiple questions of this type, you will realize it's not so difficult. So what I'll do is, once I'll quickly recap what I did in this. I first did step 1. I saw that the differences in this series were continuously increasing. So I knew this is a multiplication series. Then I did step 2. I started with the two biggest numbers and I found what is the ratio, right? So I'm getting somewhere between multiply by 5 and multiply by 6. Then I went before that. Then I saw multiply by 4 and multiply by 5. Then I went before that. So there was multiply by 3 and multiply by 4. So I could realize that okay, this is the broad gap that we are getting, right? Then I had to calculate. Is it, if I say multiply by 5 and multiply by 6, so is it 5.5, 5.1, 5.2? I didn't know. So I wanted to calculate. I said let me start the calculation with the easier numbers. So I started with 64. 64 into 0.5 gave me 32. 32 into 1.5 gave me 48. 48 into 2.5 should give me 120 and not 130. So that's how I figured out the right answer. So again, those two steps done a little carefully. First step and then second step you do slowly and steadily, you will get the right answer. Is this clear? Yes? Perfect. If you are able to get this question, then broadly you can say that you will be able to solve 90% of the questions of the paper, right? Because it will not get more difficult than this. So let's look at the final question for today, right? The next challenging question for you to solve on the screen. So let's begin, right? Let's look at the, so by now this should be already in your head. How do you begin? Same process. Step 1, step 2. So let's begin with step 1. Look at the differences. 3, then 10, 42, 3, 10, 42, 172, 885, suddenly 5000, suddenly 37,000. Numbers are increasing heavily. So what kind of series? Multiplication. Like I told you, majority of the questions in the exam will also be either multiplication or some combination, right? So it is multiplication. Okay, now that I know this is a multiplication series, then again I have to start working on the gaps. So step 2, what gap will I work with? The smaller numbers or the bigger numbers? Of course the bigger numbers. So let's start with big numbers. 5,300 and 37,400. So what will be the relation? So let's say 5,000 and 37,000. What's the relation? 5,000 into 7, 5 into 7 is 35, correct? So 5000 into 7000 will be around 35,000. So I can try it with multiply by 7. If it doesn't work, if it is more, then we can go a little less. Okay, so then we'll try multiply by 6. So let's begin. 5346. First we multiply with 7. Let's multiply. 7 6 are 42. 4 carried, 7 4 are 28 and 4 32. 3 carried, 7 3 are 21 and 3 24. 2 carried, 5 7 are 35 and 2 37. 37,422. A little close to 37,471. It's not very far away. Maybe there is an addition to this, right? So how do I reach 37,471 from 37,422? I need to add some number. What number? 11 minus 2 is 9. 6 minus 2 is 4. And then 0 0 0. So 49 is less we are getting. So if I want to come from 5346 to 37,471, first I multiply by 7. Then I get 37422. I have not yet reached 37471. So I further add 49. So into 7 plus 49 gives me 37471. Is this clear? Now let's, okay, can you see something here? 49 is a very special number. Why? Because it is 7 square. Right? So let's see what happens. Maybe it's of use to us. Let's move behind. Now we have 885 and 5346. So 885 is close to 900 and 5346 is close to 5300. So 900 9 into 6 is 54, right? 5400. So let's do multiplication by 6 and see how close do we get. 885 multiplied by 6. 6 5 are 30. 8 6 are 48. 48 plus 3 51. Very good. 8 6 are 48. 48 plus 5 53. So 5310. This is still short. How short? 5310. So 5320, 5330, 5340 and then 5346. So 36 short we are, right? So if I want to come from here to here, I have to multiply by 6, then I have to add 36. 36 is also a special number. It is 6 square. So have you figured out the pattern? This is multiplied by 7 plus 7 square. This is multiplied by 6 plus 6 square. So what should you get here? Multiply by 5 plus 5 square. What should you get here? Multiply by 4 plus 4 square. What should you get here? Multiply by 3 plus 3 square. And what should you get here? Multiply by 2 plus 2 square. This is what you should get. This is how your series should be. But there is a wrong number. So now let's figure out going from left to right. Smallest number is 3. 3 multiplied by 2 plus 2 square. So 3 into 2 is 6 plus 2 square means 4. So 6 plus 4 is 10. So 10 is right. Now 10 into 4 plus 4 square. So 10 into 4 is what? 40 plus 4 square. 4 square means what? 16. 40 plus 16 should be 56. What number do we have here? So now next number is 10. We need to get 10 into 3 plus 3 square. So what is 10 into 3? 10 into 3 is 30 plus 3 square. What is 3 square? 9. So 30 plus 9 is 39. And what number do we have here? We have here 42. So that means there is some problem here in this number. Yes, so the number that is wrong here is 42. Right, so 42 is the wrong number. What should we have had here? 39. You can try further if you want. So 39 into 4 plus 4 square. So next number should be 39 into 4. Let's see. 9 4s are 36. 4 3s are 12 plus 3 15. So 156 plus 4 square is 16. 156 plus 16 is 172. Do we have 172 here? Yes. So everything else is falling in pattern. What number is not falling in pattern? 42. So 42 is the right answer. So remember this clearly. If you are able to follow it step by step, you will be able to solve all these questions, right? So we have covered a lot of challenging questions also for today, right? But the only way you will be able to solve these questions is if you practice some of these challenging questions. So what is important is now we are also going to put some challenging questions for you to solve on screen. Give it a shot, try using the same method, step 1, step 2. You will be able to solve most of them if you do it slowly and comfortably. Slowly after a lot of practice, your speed will increase on its own. But don't try to rush in the beginning. Don't start off with I want to solve it very fast. Solve it comfortably, take your time, and then when you get into the habit, automatically speed will come, right? So let your emphasis be on getting it right, not getting it fast, right? Doing it right but doing it slowly is better than doing it wrong and doing it fast. Always know that. So then what is the key to cracking number series questions in your examination? I would like to leave you with 2 tips. Tip number 1, never forget the 2-step approach. Yes, step 1 is identify the kind of series, and step 2 is find the relationships using the big gaps, right? Always remember this 2-step approach and use it to solve most of your problems, right? So now if you follow this correctly, then you will be able to crack 90% of your problems. It is that good an approach. So out of 5 questions, at least 3 to 4 questions you will be able to get right using this approach. Yeah. So keep this in mind. The second tip that I would like to leave you with is one of the most important things in number series is don't lose your confidence. Like for example, we did a question, right, where we were trying to find a pattern. So we got multiply by 3, then we got multiply by 3 plus 4, then we got multiply by 3 minus 1, and we were wondering what is happening, right? If at all you come across that question, what is happening? So continue on to the 4th term, 5th term, 6th term, and then see. I'm telling you, you will be able to spot a pattern. You will be able to get a series, right? So in your 1st, 2nd or 3rd term, if you are not able to solve something, don't worry. Do it at least the 5th or 6th term and then decide. Yeah, I can assure you that slowly when you practice, right, if you start practicing it a lot, you will realize that these 2 steps can help you solve most of your problems. Initially, I would recommend that you start solving slowly. Start solving step 1, step 2 in a slow manner. There is no need to rush. Then when you solve a lot of questions, you practice a lot, this will become so ingrained in your head that your speed will increase automatically. On the other hand, if you see the question and say, oh no, I want to do fast, there is a very high chance that you will get it wrong. So don't go for speed initially, go for getting it right. It is better to be right and slow than to be fast and wrong. Never forget that. And slowly speed will come. Don't worry, by practice speed will come. But always start slowly, right? Go till the 5th and 6th term and then decide what is the series. Suppose in the worst case scenario, after you look at 5-6 terms and still you are not able to spot a trend or a series, only then you decide, okay, I will not do this question, I will leave it, right? So out of 5 questions, maybe 1 question will be like that, but 4 questions at least you will be able to solve only by those 2 steps and by doing that series. So you practice a lot of questions and then see, right? Practice a lot of questions using this two-step method, step 1, step 2 method, and then you check. I tell you, by the end of practicing 20-30 questions, your confidence would have increased dramatically and you will be able to solve majority of the questions in the exam. So be relaxed, be calm, start slowly and do well in your exam. Do well in a very relaxed manner, right? When you see number series, be very comfortable because you should have practiced enough by then. Yes, I am sure you will be able to do really well in the exam. I really hope this video was of help to you. All the best. Do well.